Yeah, so as you already know, currently we need to navigate through the using traffic for some kind of proxy. So if you look at the traffic in Kubernetes and look at the diagram, hopefully something good for you to look at. So normally, yeah, everything is go to a shared proxy. Like the same thing I'm doing right now. I actually route in for each server and doing health check and navigate to correct node that contain correct control plane node. So here you see that they actually have three control plane node and HA proxies that do that kind of things. So it's a floating IP addresses for both HA proxy server. So you have private IP1 and private IP2 that communicate with the rest of the API server. For one exception, which is public IP. Of, I have a proxy public IP, but I actually have a virtual IP, and the virtual IP is behind a public IP, and then it yeah, it's more directly to the to this. But let's talk about that in the next in another video where I actually go to the router and show you guys how I set up the mapping between the public IP to the private IP. So I actually create a virtual server for that. For the group proxy, here you see that they have to work a node, and then they can actually communicate with the HA proxies for routing and things like that for your services. So the ingress controller definitely will be inside each of the master node, and then it also navigate through one of these nodes, right? So the good thing about this one is really, this diagram tell everything. It's basically routing the host, your path, the subdomain through HTTPS, and then it's proxy to all the services that you have in the backend. So it could be either Meso or Docker, anything Kubernetes. So it's really amazing that you can actually do the kind of thing here. So since the logic is so simple in terms of this layer of abstraction is actually really tell everything about traffic. Is a proxy server, okay? This is a proxy service. It's help navigating your service. So the real question is that how does the traffic go through? So it depends. If it's routing by port, then it go through your public domain, public IP port, and then it go down. We submit the port and the host down to the traffic ingress controller itself. So how do you explore the ingress controller? You basically have you have two control planes, so there should be two ingress controllers, and if you do the navigating for you, so two ingress controller do the same thing, do the same routing rule. So if you have forward a request in one of these two ingress controller, yeah, and then it will be just navigate through. So the two ingress controller definitely be high on virtual IP flow measures. So just to describe you really quick on how I set up right now, I'm going to draw a diagram of it. Actually, you know what? Let me prepare the documentation really quick. So traffic ingress. So when you talk about traffic ingress, you actually thinking about the first component is obviously the user from the internet. So I would just draw on cloud here. So here is the internet. So when you want to visit, basically the user is from the internet, so you can just draw the user here. Obviously, the user is internet itself. You can either choose the actor, it's users from internet. Okay, just draw this cloud a bit bigger. So if you go to the internet, the next thing you do is obviously go to my domain, my DNS server to receive on public key. So basically, if you actually visiting this domain with the IP. So let's just show you why is my public IP really quick. Not one. Okay, I actually forgot. Let me check my configuration really quick. So this is my public IP addresses. Yeah, literally I will use this for a long time. And even though it is both security risks, but something that I will have to deal in the future anyways. So don't care about the hacker at the moment. Okay, so after you this is the public domain, what it does next, basically what it does next. So it's either you visit a specific port. I will just tell you how different way you can visit my domain. You can visit to specific port like postgres domain. Okay, same thing. Or you can go to another domain called api.tab, which is my backend domain. So either way, if you forward the traffic into so very same IP addresses. So let me just draw this line real quick. So in my home servers, basically now I draw my home server here. Just draw a big one so we can see that. In my home server, basically what it does, right? What it does is, here's my home servers. Let me just draw the text here real quick. Home server. So in my home server, you will navigate this route to a virtual IP addresses. So the router itself, we do a reverse network translation. So let me do on routers. Okay, this is a router. Look like one. Now let this router is a bit physical. Let me just use a more generic one. So this router, what it does, right, is basically let me just run this down. I definitely have some custom edge here. Oh my god. So what it does is, since it's forward to the same request, what you can do is to imagine that yeah, what I can do is to imagine that from this router you can actually have a virtual API addresses. Okay, so let me use the same. Virtual, and obviously this virtual IP address is actually managed by HA proxy, and so continue on this diagram. The virtual IP actually assigned by HA proxy. So I would recall that my load balancer will be around 221, I think. For an exact IP, I think I can just go to the load balancer. We have load balancer 1 and load balancer 2. Oh, we actually have 3 load balancer. Interesting. I think we shouldn't have load balancer 3, but anyways, if you add to load balancer 2, okay, and okay, so here in this part I actually need to revise my documentation a bit. So wait a second, guys. Here you guys actually see that this is my previous note for setting up a high available So the virtual IP will be actually this is a health check for the virtual IP, and yeah, and the keep alive they do like 3 second 3 time check with timeout 10 things like that. So keep alive is actually the one who configured for the virtual IP. So it's really interesting to see that. Let's just go to this configuration file to see how it's work. I actually really want to know um, how this how does this the virtual IP works honestly, like how the advertise is addressed, like virtual IP address to the correct servers. So we actually have a password script here. So what it does is basically it do some kind of health check here to the okay, there is some kind of actually it's about job of the keep alive. What it does is I'm not exactly sure to be honest. So here's two nodes. So we need like with again here, do the HTTP check and node. Okay. All this one we actually need to take a look on how it being configured. It's really interesting. I am not sure, but I would like to add some kind of Ansible in the future to really automate these kind of things. Like boot up a new cluster and using poorly just Ansible script, you know, running playbooks in this. Obviously, you have to set up the SSH connection, things like that, to really be able to boot up these nodes, and the Ansible must have accessible for all the nodes to run this kind of provisioning. Anyway, as you can see that this they don't have a specific kind of. I'm not sure, but these are just the old way to really understand what is going on. Yeah, so put it aside. It's definitely go to HA open source. As you can see that here, I definitely not knowing what I do recently. So yeah, so there is HA open source configuration and keep alive. We run in all node and they reclaim an IP addresses. I think for me the one of these romancer. So the routing rule, how does it working? Yeah, it's so the router will navigate your request to a virtual IP, and then from that virtual IP address, we navigate to one of the load balancers, and from that load balancer, we routing to one of the yeah, it's we basically run route to one of the healthy healthy API server, right? So that's the idea of it. But let's not focus in too much. I actually want to focus on the expected diagram, the setup I'm having. So if you definitely go to one of the HG proxy servers, so it could be 200. God, man, what I'm doing? Second is this guy. And obviously, as you already know, once you get to one of the slowest server is you actually navigate to the healthy one. So either one is one of this one of this guy in the round robin fashion, right? That's something in the future I need to do. I need to actually have the real health check between them. For now, I actually just routing one of them, and as long as it work, then there's no problem. And now there's actually a round robin. This is not round robin. It just pick one of the two. Um, One of the two API server, right? So you can go to control plane. So either one of these guy, as long as that it's healthy, you can expect it to be one of these guy. Let's just drag it to a lower. Yeah, so you can. So I actually have two nodes, so node 1, node 2. You can see that the IP address is just like that. And say for this guy, it could be either one of them, as long as they do the health check on the API server and they file healthy. It can just be so this one possible routing. So that's how it go. You can expect the same behaviors, for not only API server but could be any other could be any others. I need to set up the same things for uh, this is not Traefik ingress. This actually ingress for regular control ingress. So this not necessarily this is actually 6443, as you already know. It's directly go to the PR server. So let me just remove the rest of this guy, since it's not closely related to what I'm saying. So this is the first diagram I think of. Another routing rule could be you still go to the HTML browser, and if we go to one of the cluster IP, not really cluster IP, but an ingress controller. So now you actually what I'm telling you guys. So the Traefik ingress, they do the same thing with one exception. It's not necessary to a part. maybe it could be for 3, I would say. Could be TCP like no, this is Redis part, and it could be HTTP okay, not the API, something like that. Now just remove the you can make the text smaller just to fit it. So yeah, so you know the routing rule, you all know that if you go to one of these 3 node, just like drawing previous diagram, and from this node it will basically go down deeper to the router of the home servers. You all know that, right? And from this one you can actually expect it to go to virtual IP, same things like API server, but the only difference is that it can go to an ingress controllers. And from the ingress controller you definitely know what happens next, right? If we go to all the services, this ingress controller is actually the worker node. It has the same share the same network interface with the cluster IP. So this guy actually in the same network as the URL router. In the same network as all the port line, cluster IP and things like that. So I will make the it a bit light, so make it a bit thin like this. So you can clearly see that this is home server, which is cluster network. So now it can navigate to any kind of services, anything. Like just an example here, you can okay, I just remove this one. So this is just an example, you know. So it could be so one of these two guys. So it's actually in this guy too. So just to grab some examples so you guys know. I think we just draw another dash line here, so you guys know exactly what it means. Okay, so I think that's conclude my diagram. In the next video, we actually want to um, make this thing happen. So how you do this routing